Actually, I think maybe I need to adjust the camera a smidgen. Today's video is 13 things that I have learned in my 20s. I am turning 27 very soon in just a couple of days, and my 20s have taken turns that I just really didn't expect. And the same with my husband. My husband's 29 and turning 30 this summer, so we actually sat together the other day at breakfast, and I asked him to brainstorm with me things we've learned in our 20s. So a lot of these are things I've learned, and then I actually have toward the end 3 or 4 things he learned, and then something we have both learned together. You know what? These are not in any particular order. So some are super important at the beginning, some are less important. They're all important, but there's no particular order. All right? Number 1. Learn to seek mentorship. Something that's really important to understand, especially in your early 20s, is that you don't know everything. And it's really easy to feel like we know everything, especially coming out of the American school system. We have something called senioritis. So we feel very adult, we feel very wise, we feel like we know so much. We don't. When I met a woman that I knew could mentor me and I asked her to be my mentor, it opened up this entirely new experience of someone who was much older, much wiser, much more experienced, with love and grace pouring into me. She shared with me so many life lessons. She wanted to hear me reflect on where I was in life, and I really believe that it helped me get grounded and centered and focused and intentional about where I was wanting to go in life, because I had someone who was wiser giving me counsel. So seeking mentorship is a really incredible thing that you should do. You can do it at any age, but especially in your 20s, because you're not as wise as you think. Number 2. Pets are a very big commitment, and dogs are very difficult. When you have a pet, and I know it's such a thing, especially in the States, to get like an emotional support animal, I don't consider animals to be very emotionally supportive, more so than they are stressful. And I have a beloved cat that I love so much who actually lives with my grandparents now, and she was with me for 5 years before she needed to go to my grandparents, and she had to go there because I moved overseas. Having an animal makes rents, deposits, security deposits, moving, everything so much harder. If you're wanting to have spontaneity in your life and be able to do new things, having a pet is a really intense responsibility. They are really reliant on you. If you've already got a pet, I know how much you love them. I love mine too. I am in a season of life now where I will not be adopting any more animals for a very long time, because I just don't have the scope to be that responsible for an animal right now in this season of my life. It's not because I'm irresponsible, it's because I understand how much commitment they take, and it is an animal. So pets are just a huge commitment. They're not wrong. I love animals, but I grew up with a lot of pets in life, and I'm just at a place now where I'm like, okay, that door is just closed for a while. Number 3, it really matters how you eat and what you drink. Taking care of your body is a really important thing. And I cannot believe that I am saying this, but as my husband and I are getting closer to 30, we can actually feel how much our body needs nurture. Now, if you've been on my channel before and you've watched a lot of my videos, you may have heard me mention that I got really sick when I moved to Turkey, and it really weakened me. I was bedridden, I was sick, and I lost a lot of muscle that I had built up over many years. But I lost muscle like that I had built up over many years. So our bodies are actually a lot more delicate and fragile than we tend to treat them in our early 20s. We drink crap, we eat crap, we don't get enough sleep, we run on caffeine, we think it's just fine. Your body is not as indestructible as you're treating it, and how you treat it at the beginning of your 20s is going to be the building blocks for how you enter your 30s. So pay attention to your health. Stop eating junk, stop drinking excess alcohol, stop going crazy in life in a way that sacrifices the nutrition and health and nourishment you pour into yourself. Number 4, if you are not already, start practicing reflection, introspection, and repentance. So reflection and introspection are 2 different things. Reflection is looking back and just thinking with consideration, and then introspection is actually examining and observing your mental and emotional processing. When I started practicing these 2 things, I started to uncover a lot of what was going on inside of me, because we have a really intense tendency to project what's on the inside to the outside and then only pay attention to the outside. We have to go internal. We have to examine our hearts, our thoughts, our minds. We have to examine what's going on the inside and then Repentance is the bringing that to God and letting Him flip it, letting Him turn over what's going on inside of us and produce life instead of death. And I know that's kind of intense, but we talk about God-centered wellness on this channel, so bringing it to God is a really big deal. I did not start bringing my introspection and reflection to God until I was around 22, 23. And when I started doing that, the intensity for which these thoughts didn't grasp me anymore was palpable. I could understand the changing, the renewing, the forgiveness inside of me that these things no longer defined me and held me captive, these thought processes, these lies, these belief patterns I once held, once I had brought it to God and repented it. So reflection, introspection, and repentance move in tandem together to actually renew the mind and get you free from these toxic thoughts. This is, in my opinion, a huge deal. It makes a huge difference. Number 5, stop creating chaos and go to therapy. Now, not everybody needs to go to therapy. Not everybody is creating chaos, but there are a generous amount of us who have had seasons of life where we just stir up chaos because the chaos inside of us is so intense, we do not know how to be still. I did this very intensely. I ruined friendships, I ruined acquaintanceships because I was so chaotic externally because of the chaos inside. But I was not capable of actually taking ownership and command of that chaos until I went to therapy and I was able to, in a sense, confess the core of the problem, come to a place of understanding where I wasn't just seeing the storm, I was seeing the initiating of the storm. I had to come to understand what is it inside of me that is producing this chaos, and ultimately it was trauma and pain and sin. So I needed to come to a place where I could understand that that was going on to stop creating the chaos. But here's the thing. It takes self-reflection, it takes introspection to realize we are creating chaos. If you are creating chaos in other people's life, you are hurting people. Creating chaos is a very inconsiderate and harmful thing to do, and it is a projecting of your pain and your problems into other people's life and trying to share the illness, the sickness, the lack of health. It's not a releasing of burden, it's not healing, it is multiplying the problem. Creating chaos sucks. It sucks for you, it sucks for others, and sometimes the chaos that we create causes more illness than the initial problem of what's going on. And I can testify to that. When I was in my early 20s and I was creating chaos for myself, sometimes the chaos I created for myself was more painful than the actual reason I was creating chaos. Chaos is something you are doing to yourself. Even though there is this subconscious drive of trauma, there's this dark drive of sin, there's this ickiness going through you that's initiating it, you are still doing it. And causing ourselves pain, grief, trauma causes us to then feel shame because it sucks that we inflict this upon ourselves. So stop creating chaos, go to therapy. Number 6 is really difficult for some. Forgive your parents. Our parents are humans living in a fallen world where there is pain and there is grief, and they try their best, and sometimes their best sucks. But when we do not forgive, that lack of forgiveness creates so much bitterness and poison inside of us that it prevents us from being able to heal and move on. So forgiving isn't about them, it's about you, and it's about your relationship with God, because the scriptures do say, forgive so that you are forgiven. Because holding on to this bitterness is operating in a state of lack of understanding of the reality of the lack of health that exists in this world. When we go through a healing journey and we start to dive into wellness and wisdom on wellness, we come to understand that people hurt people because they are hurt by other people. And we need to be able to operate in a mindset where we can recognize that somebody else's abusive tendencies or disrespect or just meanness, whatever it is, it's coming from their own story, their own life, their own baggage. So holding that against somebody, when you can understand that about yourself, when you can understand that the reason you act poorly sometimes is because of your past, but then you don't apply that understanding to other people, you're choosing to ignore the understanding you have, therefore you are acting in a lack of wisdom. Now this is easier said than done, okay? Because I still get triggered by interactions with those who raised me. I still, lose my temper sometimes. It sucks though. So forgiving your parents, Just do it. Just do it. Work through it. Number 7. You should be praying for wisdom and understanding right now. When I started praying to God for wisdom and understanding after I had come to understand that God was real, oh my God, did it open up my mind and depth for understanding who I am, why I do the things I do, how to stop doing things I don't want to do, how to start doing the things I do want to do, how to see other people with compassion and empathy and actual love and grace, not just niceness, not just tolerance, but actual love. The amount of wisdom and understanding God has given me is even out of context of what I even imagined understanding and wisdom could be. We think that wisdom is having a lot of intellect or philosophy, but God's wisdom and understanding is so simple and so truthful and so cut to the core. It heals. It literally prunes the darkness off of you, the bad fruit, the ickiness that's inside of us all. He literally takes that away through building up our understanding and giving us this wisdom. Praying for wisdom and understanding is a really great thing to pray for, no matter who you are, no matter what season of life you're in, but especially in your 20s, because we don't know what to pray for. We don't know what we need. We don't know who we are. We have no idea where we're going. So pray for wisdom and understanding. I would say you should be praying for wisdom and understanding before you're trying to pray for a husband or a wife. Before you're trying to pray for these things you think you need and want, ask for wisdom and understanding first. Humble yourself down and realize you are not that wise. Me too, okay? Number 8 seems so like common sense, but I didn't have this common sense. So number 8 is stay away from danger. Don't put yourself into dangerous situations. Don't go into houses you shouldn't be going into. Don't go to parties you shouldn't be going into. Don't drink excessive alcohol you shouldn't be drinking around people you don't know. Don't do drugs. Don't put these things into your body that's going to alter your ability to function, decide, have a long-term memory impact. Like, don't put yourself in danger. Don't seek thrill. Don't seek these things because you're trying to understand who you are, but really you're on a path of self-destruction. Stop. Stop. Stop, stop, stop. I can promise you, as someone who has experienced that downhill spiral, it doesn't lead anywhere but pain and spiritual death. It sucks, okay? Stay away from danger. Okay, so the next 4 are from my husband. By the way, I have this on a piece of paper. And just to let you know something about my husband is he's Turkish, I'm American, so we come from very different cultural experiences. So hearing his take was pretty exciting for me too. Okay, so number 9, this is from my husband. Leave everything you have ever heard about God, religion, all of it behind. Drop it, let it go, and go seek God for yourself. I can't add many words to this because it's his words, but we really talked about it and we were like, wow. The fact that God is real and God cares about us and he is so different from what everybody says, and instead he has made himself accessible and approachable. Number 10, this is my husband's again. Trying really hard to find yourself actually ends up inflicting pain upon yourself, and instead you need to seek God because you do not know who you are separate from the Creator. That was really good too. And I totally agree with him. When I was soul seeking and looking for myself, it just led me around in all of these loops and spinning on coincidences, as I've said before. But when I stopped looking for me and started looking for God, that's when I was reborn and I actually discovered who I am. You can't seek what's not alive. We're not spiritually alive until we're connected to the Creator of the cosmos. Number 11, leave your parents' house. In Turkish culture, people tend to not leave their parents' house, and my husband had a unique experience that he lived in Europe on his own for 5 years, so he really believes that you need to leave your parents' house in order to be able to actually figure out how to be, how to stand on your own 2 feet and actually question what you've been taught. So that's all I can really say. I wish we had him here so he could tell us more. Number 12, learn a new language. Now, my husband Burak said that this is awesome, not just because it opens up your communication with other people, but it opens up your brain to being able to learn new styles of communication and express itself. Therefore, you're opening up brain pathways. So he encourages everybody to learn a new language. And the last one, number 13, is from my husband and I, and it is that a God-centered marriage is the greatest thing on this earth that we can ever experience outside of our personal, intimate relationship with God. We've been married for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in February, and I can't tell you, like, the amazingness of it. It's truly incredible the way that we experience God using both of us, interacting with each other through each other, and how mutually serving each other and serving the Lord brings so much blessing into our life. We had no idea marriage was amazing, but we followed God and we got married, and now, wow, we are incredibly grateful that we are married and that we are working to build up a strong marriage in our 20s instead of building up our isolation. So that's what I have for you today. This is 13 things I've learned in my 20s. I really think that they're interesting things. I didn't expect to learn these things, so I really hope that you found value in them, and I encourage you to drop a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. Go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to check out what else I've got coming. My name is Kayleigh. I talk about God-centered wellness and healing and not Christian lifestyle, but God-centered lifestyle. Basically, on this channel, we are diving into wellness and healing in life with God at the center, and how can we experience God and experience life with this fresh enthusiasm that God gives us. It's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. You know I appreciate your time so much. I'll see you next time.